Hi everyone, I'm Alan with The Rabbit Show, and we're here in El Dorado Hills, California with a very special interview with the 2018 ARBA Youth Best in Show winner, and that's Clara Hill Gaston. She's one of the top breeders of rabbits in youth in the nation, and we've got a show this weekend locally, so we took the opportunity to come up a little bit earlier and have a chat with Clara, because we haven't seen her since 2018 convention when she had the big win. So we're going to talk about that, but really importantly, we hope to help other kids and parents and leaders that might be involved in the youth ARBA hobby or thinking about it, and how to balance the really intense schedule of a high schooler or even younger with a rabbit hobby, because it certainly probably distracts some people from getting into the rabbits thinking, well, how am I going to do both? And we couldn't think of anyone better than not only probably one of the most successful youth breeders of our time right now, but also someone that has straight A's. So we're really excited to be here, and guys, join us for the rest of this interview. And by the way, we're going to do some footage afterwards and then put together a little film for the Rabbit Show, which is going to talk about how Clara breeds Lionheads and maybe give some tips to not only youth breeders, but open breeders as well, who might be currently first all breed clubs and shows we've had in California in quite some time. So it's kind of a new passionate group, right?
Yeah, it's exciting.
What's going on tomorrow with the show? Anything exciting?
Well, we're just it's a double show.
Okay.
And we're gonna have showmanship and
Excellent.
like a strong 4-H connection.
Very cool. And that's a big part of probably why you're in rabbits too, right?
Yeah, 4-H.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how it started.
Awesome. So how long have you been doing this rabbit thing?
It's probably my third year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember your first experience? Like, how did you find out about raising rabbits?
Well, I've had a rabbit since I was like 6. I've had a pet, and in Ohio, one of my friends was a vet, and I went with her one time, and she went to a person's rabbitry to do like a in-house like vet thing.
And this person was a show breeder or just having a pet?
Oh, the breeder that she went to help?
Yeah.
She was a big breeder. She probably had like
Really?
2,000 rabbits.
So was that your first exposure then to rabbit showing?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
And so that I had one black Lionhead then, and so I went to like a local kind of like little show thing, and they showed me about the rabbits, and I was so excited. And I really wanted to start breeding, but in Ohio we didn't have the room, so I wrote like a 60-page essay trying to convince my mom to start breeding Lionheads. And once we moved to California, she eventually let me get another one, and then that turned into a bunch more.
What you've got today?
Yeah.
So in 3 years, you went from 0 to hero.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So what was it about Lionheads though that attracted you? Obviously it was your first rabbit. Was it just maybe sentimental that you thought, well, this is my first breed, so therefore that's what I want to stick with? But what is it about Lionheads that got you to breed them and stick to them?
Yeah. Well, once I went to my first show, I was kind of like there's so many breeds, and I was so amazed at how different each breed was.
Were you shocked at when you went to your first show?
Oh yeah. And then there's just so many unique breeds, and but the Lionhead has always like stood out to me. They, they're kind of like perfect, and I don't know.
No bias there, right?
Yeah. No.
So yeah, you stuck with Lionheads, and how did your family moved to California from Ohio, and how did you find out about the rabbit community and the ARBA showing scene here in California out west?
Well, I had a friend in 7th grade when I moved here, and I met a girl, and she had like probably 5 rabbits, and I got into 4-H with her, and I went to my first rabbit show probably like 4 months after I got into 4-H, and I was just like, this is amazing, and it was just so unique, and then I met you, and then I got like more cages.
I mean, my first memory of you is at West Coast Classic.
Yeah.
Your mom tells a different story. She says that we met at some other show where I was judging, and I'm sure it was really busy, but my first very vivid memory is of all of you guys at West Coast Classic. It was a huge show, and you're like, hey, we're really getting started this, and your mom's like, we're only gonna get 1 stacking cage, and your dad's like, well, we met on the freeway, remember afterwards, because I delivered the cage, and he's like, this is it, we're not. And look what happened, right?
That wasn't it.
It wasn't definitely. I said to him, I'm like, you know what they say about rabbits? They breed like rabbits.
Yeah.
And it's pretty addicting. So, but you've picked a breed that's it's a very interesting breed because it's one of the newest breeds in the ARBA. And I mean, they've been around US for about 15, 20 years, but as a recognized breed, you might want to, there we go. As a recognized breed, it's new.
Yeah.
So what challenges have you found about
I just felt that, you know, I was unique with my Lionheads, you know, it was just something different. And I don't know, they've always been so special to me too, because they're just kind of perfect and, like I said before.
Keep saying that.
Yeah.
So it's a labor of love. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what others are doing as long as you love them.
And I did have a Netherlandorf first, so it's not. I guess it's not that it was just my first rabbit, because I got my Lionhead after my Netherlandorf died, and I don't know. I researched before I got the Lionhead, and I kind of just loved how they looked and stuff. And
Well, apparently you did a lot of research because the story goes, as you said, you wanted to get into showing rabbits after your first show in Ohio. That you were exposed to this, and you wrote your parents a 60-page essay. That's pretty unheard of.
I was really obsessed. So
apparently.
I really need to get into this.
What did you say in this letter to your parents as you're begging for rabbits?
Well, most of it was just explaining like how I do this, you know, and trying to show them that it wouldn't be that hard and that I could balance it with school and with everything else I'm doing.
So you really had to prove that this wasn't like an impulse idea, that this was something that you had really thought about and as a breeder and a manager over a time period, right?
Yeah. And then when we moved over here, it was just because I tried to take really good care of the one Lionhead I had. And like we moved over here with her in a box, and took her into all her hotels and stuff, and it was just a really special experience.
No wonder they let you do it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I don't think they have any regrets now though. Nope, and we're looking at them right now. Dad's still like, so, but let's talk about Best in Show, because obviously that's like
Facebook and stuff, you know, people post. And
what does that make you feel when you see a Lionhead win Best in Show on Facebook?
Well, it's incredible still, you know, because it's big, because Lionheads don't win as much, because, you know, they're not as developed, and to anyone it's big. And it was just, you know, I couldn't believe it. And I hadn't won that many Best in Shows before convention either.
So your excitement about the breed is still as renewed as it was the very first time you saw it. I think I remember the very first time I saw a Lionhead win Best in Show. It was a Facebook post, and like, oh, you know, it's finally happened. And everyone was cheering the breed on. But to think about a convention Best in Show, I mean, there's no bigger prize in our country in the ARBA than Best in Show, right? Whether it's open or youth. And some people will try for a lifetime. I haven't done it. You know, it's like, I'm like, Clara, she's done this in just 3 years.
Yeah.
So, when was your first convention, by the way? Obviously, 2018 in Massachusetts was a big year for you. But when did you go to your first ARBA convention?
Well, the first year I got into Lionheads, the convention was in San Diego.
So you went to the San Diego show?
Yeah,
Okay.
we went. I had most exhibition. I had some blacks and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, because my first Lionhead was a black.
Okay.
So
So you couldn't even earn legs or think about winning Best of Breed at that point, because they weren't even recognized. The ones you were showing were mostly not recognized.
Mostly not recognized. I had like 2 torts, and they both got DQ'd.
Really?
Yeah, no breaks.
For what? Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, no breaks and too much face wool. But
and that didn't discourage you?
No, because they got like good comments still, because I had so much help.
pretty remarkable in itself, and then to think that you're smiling about it and keep going on, that you were still there to go on after that is kind of remarkable. You know, prior to convention, had you before, well, let's say between 2016 and 2018, what other big shows, big ARBA shows and events had you been to that also inspired you? Maybe there was more competition or your rabbits had improved. And what big shows had you been to before this last convention?
Probably, well, last year was my best year for sure, because I went to nationals at the start of that year.
And where was that?
In Reno, at West Coast Classic. And I won Best and Opposite Breed, which was pretty exciting. And I won the yeah.
Right, so even though you may not have felt they were the best then, were you excited about what was to come after West Coast Classic?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I had a lot of babies because I was breeding hard. Yeah, so I just had a lot to show and a lot to be excited about.
Very cool. And you have an award there. What you want to hold that up and show everybody what it is and tell us when it was?
Sure, this was Best Overall Display, and this was at, not convention 2018, but convention in Indianapolis.
Okay, so you've been to 2016 and 17.
Yeah.
Okay, and this was from 2017
Yeah, that was
in
my,
Indianapolis.
technically, it's my second convention, but my first.
So your second convention. So you go from getting all disqualifications at your first convention to winning Best of Breed at the next convention in 17.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we know what happens in 18.
Yeah.
Right? So how did you feel when you won Best of Breed in 2017, a year after having your entire entry disqualified at your first show?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Well, that was like my first big win, and I was crying and stuff, and I really didn't. Well, I didn't expect to win because they had all the varieties up there, and I only had I think one rabbit up there, so I was like.
Did you tell this story? Because I don't think a lot of people get involved in rabbits, especially kids, and go from being disqualified to this kind of success. I mean, I find that inspiring. Are you sharing that with others? Your story, how you really can go from the basics to something extraordinary in a rather short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was really it wasn't just me. It was, I had so much help from other people, and I contacted so many, good breeders, and my parents, obviously.
That's your magic, though. You have a great community, and you're always grateful. You're genuinely grateful to the people that have helped you.
Well, I couldn't have done it, without so many people, and I don't know if I'd still be so excited if I didn't do this with my mom, and yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Your dad's pretty cool, too.
Yeah.
Even if he was against that stacking cage.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to talk about your mom in a second, but let's go back to convention. So you fly all the way to convention in Massachusetts. It's a whole country away, right? And how are you feeling going into it? You're thinking, oh gosh, I'm really proud of my rabbits, or you're like West Coast Classic, not so.
Yeah, we weren't so sure, and I had a lot of rabbits because I flew with 2 other breeders' rabbits.
So how many did you bring to convention?
We probably had me personally, just in general.
Yeah.
I entered, I think, like 20, 25.
Did you really? That's a pretty substantial entry.
It's a big entry.
Even for a local, maybe someone from Massachusetts, that's a lot of rabbits to show at convention. So you
go
going there from California, I bet.
Yeah.
Because the Lionhead setup for cages, not just putting them on the shades.
No, yeah.
I can only imagine. That's a topic for another day, right?
Yeah.
So when you're at the convention, what did you want to do? What were your goals for the 2018 convention? You fly there with 20 rabbits from across the country, okay? You're showing in youth. You had won Best of Breed the year before. What were your goals this year? What did you want to accomplish at the 2018 convention?
Well, obviously I wanted to, win. And
Did win what?
Well,
Best
I
Tort?
was hoping on Best of Breed.
The senior buck class? What? Okay.
Yeah, but I entered something in like almost every class I could because we only have, like 5 accepted varieties. Your lines, and also depends on like color and stuff. So I'd really been breeding all year round, and what surprised me was that also I thought that like the 6-month-olds would be like the best. But the one that won was actually 10, 11 months. And she was really, I'm really close to her because she'd won so much before, and I'd been showing her so much.
So she had already had a career here,
Yeah.
Locally at shows. What had she won prior to going there in Massachusetts? Tell us.
She was probably, because I was showing her and her sister, and they were like my favorites, right? So she had won probably like 2 or 3 reserve shows, and a lot of best breeds. But her sister
We
was.
keep calling her and she, but what's her name?
Yeah, Tequila Sunrise.
She's a famous rabbit. So
Yeah.
Tequila Sunrise.
Tequila Sunrise.
She's the 2018 Convention Youth Best in Show.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And what color was she, by the way?
Black Tort.
Okay, so
Yeah.
black sword. She had won a bunch locally.
Mm-hmm.
And so was she your favorite going into convention? I know she was you said
Yeah.
older than what you had expected to be
Yeah.
a prime age for your entry, but was she one of your favorites?
I mean, to me, she was one of my favorites, but I didn't have a lot of, expectations of her going into it because I was like,
Why?
she just wasn't. I mean, obviously, I loved her, but she wasn't like perfect condition and perfect her mane was not at like its highest point as like some of the juniors were. And I actually had a junior doe I liked a lot better. And I was like, okay, well maybe the junior can do it. Like the junior doe can do it. But,
It's pretty amazing that we're 5-6 months after convention, and you're still able to give her constructive criticism.
Yeah.
What is that? That's a very unique quality to do. Most people will be like, "Oh, she's so amazing, she's perfect, and of course I wanted her to win." And I knew she was going to win.
Yeah.
You still don't have that attitude. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? Do you see how special that is?
I guess.
You're so modest. It's really special, right? So she's not your favorite going in. Right? That's basically what you're saying. But what happens? So let's go through the class. Like she's up there, and how many were in her senior doe class of torts? She's special to win that class.
Well, Tequila Sunrise, she's a nice doe. She doesn't have the highest head mount and stuff, so she had been posing her and stuff, and she hadn't been sitting up, but she has incredible density, and she's really wide. She's like a solid little doe,
So that density probably separated her from some of the others. Do you feel like she had the densest mane of the does that you had in that class?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Was she the densest maned doe of your entire entry?
I don't think so. I think because I had her.
Again, no, say no.
Because I had a brood doe that won best opposite variety, and for me, like my broods, they just had tons of mane, and so that doe was like you could barely see the break.
Wow.
And Jacinta commented on that. Like she was like, this doe, I like her a lot too, but I probably wouldn't put her on the best in show table because you can barely see it. And some
The
people,
breed, which is a big challenge for the breed.
especially for convention best in show, you don't want something up there that doesn't represent the breed well.
Sure, that's a great statement. And we're going to talk about more of the breeding aspect of Lionheads and how to present your rabbits for show from your perspective when we do some videos later on, and we'll put those together for our viewers. So anyway, she wins her class, and obviously she wins variety. Let's talk about best of breed. Okay, so Jacinta is the judge, correct? She's a judge from Ohio. Is she the only judge, or was she sharing the table with another?
She was the only judge.
Only
We
judge.
had 2 judges for open, but we only had 1 for each.
Okay. How many youth Lionheads were there? Do you remember?
I think like 120.
So it's obviously a bigger entry than you're used to competing against,
Especially
right?
for Lionheads, that's like big numbers.
Were there more competing in Massachusetts this past convention than in 2017 for youth?
I think so.
So you're excited, like this is a good show.
I wasn't as excited when they were doing best of breed judging when she was looking through them again, as I was nervous.
Oh, okay.
I was so nervous because I had the best in opposite variety tort, and then I had best opposite variety root, and that's it.
So you had 3 chances out of how many varieties are recognized? because there's a lot of shading, and the shading has to look, the fur has to be pretty spot on, and it's a very timed variety, right? So for you feel like your variety going into convention was the Siamese Sable variety, in terms of condition and color?
I definitely had the most, and I had a few, like, especially I remember I had like 2 senior does I was super excited about, and they got second and third, and I was super disappointed, and I was like, well, they were probably my best chances.
Really?
And especially because my favorite junior doe, the one I was talking about earlier, the tort, she I was like pacing back and forth, and I started walking away because I was like, there's no way I'm winning this, and I'm so scared. And then Lewis just grabbed me, and he's like, we're gonna go watch, and then he just held me there. And I was like, okay.
Were you more nervous for that than, say, one of your AP tests back home?
Mm-hmm. Probably, yeah.
That's pretty funny. We'll talk about your school career.
Yeah.
Pretty extensive in a little bit. So you win Best of Breed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have a big ceremony on Monday of the convention,
Mm-hmm.
Best in Show. Okay, so we're doing youth first, and she goes up there, and what happens when you win Best of Breed at a convention, whether it's youth or open? What's the process? You've done it twice now. So
Yeah.
Tell us what it's like to be part of that ceremony for Best in Show.
Well, you gotta go up there with, your rabbit, and you have to have like the rabbit carrying cage, and
Do you stand in the line? Something that I'm going to consider for the group win.
yeah. It's even like, to me, it's still a big honor to have my rabbit taken out a second time at local shows for Best in Show.
Of course.
So I mean, that was pretty like special to me.
Yeah.
And that, yeah.
So honestly, let's talk about that for a second. Do you feel like there's a stigma that goes along with Lionheads and the challenge of the breed, or the perception that maybe others have of the breed that maybe works It's finally got acceptance. Was it 2013?
I think it was.
Harrisburg.
Yeah, I think it
So
was.
anyway, so that's Teresa. So you're at West Coast Classic. In what year was that? 2016.
16, yeah.
So you're there with your black Lionhead, which is even recognized, and you say to Teresa, who's there for Lionhead Nationals, right? I remember she coordinated Lionhead National that year. So she comes down from Washington. She's got a great entry. She's very, very respected in the breed. She's really respected throughout the area. She's one of the most professional and
I think I did take, I had 2 Lionheads then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they were black?
I had black and a Siamese sable. Yeah.
Again, okay, so 2 non-recognized breeds. You were,
Yes.
or varieties. You were very famous for that. You meet her, she said,
Misty Classic. And I ended up selling the Siamese sable I had there, even though he was my second rabbit, because I was like, I need room for better ones already.
and that's what happened.
Yeah.
And so Teresa ultimately
Yeah.
said,
Yeah. So.
oh, here you go. This is a great trio, or
Well, she didn't even.
or you said like, all right, no, this is something I really want to do.
Yeah. So I took my 2 Lionheads, and she was like, are you sure? Because I hadn't had any experience with rabbits, you know. So she was like, are you sure you want to get started with these? They're not the easiest. And I was like, well, I think so. I don't know. I mean.
I think you said like, of course.
Yeah.
Let's face it. They were your first love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you weren't giving up.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to Best in Show. All right, talk about the stigma, but that's important to talk about because it really leads into like how momentous this win was for not only you but Teresa,
Yeah.
Suzanne, your mentors, Dawn. I'm sure too
Yeah.
the Lionhead breeders that have been doing this a long time. How momentous this was
Yeah.
for someone to win Best in Show at convention with Lionheads, a brand new breed. We still call them. They've been
Almost something.
was it silver?
Yeah, it's
They
like
were
either
very-
silver or silver.
Which is a really cool thing
Yeah,
too as
silver.
well. Yes.
And then what was group 2?
Polish.
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 So I thought that was
So
interesting.
you have the silver, the Polish, the Lionhead, and the Mini Lop competing for Best in Show. Okay, so they're up there, the 4 remaining rabbits for Best in Show, and then who comes out to judge Best in Show? Who's voted to judge you with Best in Show here?
Eric Stewart.
Eric Stewart. So you're just like, yes. Or
Yes.
you're like, oh.
I mean,
You're
he's a knowledgeable judge,
Mhm.
and he's rough because he really knows what he's doing. So you've got to have
He's
good rabbit.
meticulous, right?
Oh yeah.
And he's been around, of course, in the hobby his whole life, and he's seen the breed from development to now. And I mean, who more to be more connected to the breed development overall than to Eric? So that was meaningful to you.
Yeah, and I was really excited too because Eric had judged for us before. Obviously, he was judging at nationals that year, and
So you respect his opinion.
yeah, and that Polish has a really nice head, and you know.
So you're sitting, at this point you're still back in the front row in the reserve seating? Or
No,
you back with your
yeah, I
mom?
was back with my mom.
It was you in the back of the audience to be with your mom to watch the final Best in Show, and you're watching Eric, and he takes him out once, and you're judging the rabbits too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I was just watching, I was like, and I was getting nervous. I was like, well, those are some, you know, obviously there's some nice rabbits. Yeah, it was stressful.
And then what happens?
Well, then he gave a speech, and as I was going on, I was getting more nervous. I was like cutting off the circulation.
Does he let on at all what he's gonna pick? No.
No, he doesn't.
No, not a bit.
Well, until he says it, and
What do you do? Where's your heart at that point?
I was screaming and I was crying and. And I flew home with Tequila Sunrise.
So she didn't go back with the other rabbits?
No. Yeah.
She did. First class treatment, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get home, and I think other breeders have described this in the past. You get a big win, and you come home, and what happens? Are you like pumped, or did you face some challenges? What happens when you come home, and then you go back to your local shows, and you're around everyone that's, I'm sure everyone was excited.
Yeah.
Are there challenges too that you have to face coming back after such a momentous win? This is a big deal.
Well, super developed, and there's not huge numbers. So I want to get our numbers up and keep breeding, make our Lionheads better.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So you don't give up? No, not at all.
And I've tried other breeds too. So
Tell us about that. What other breeds are you raising now besides Lionhead?
well, right now I only have one other breed.
Which is?
American Fuzzy Lops.
Okay. What made you choose Fuzzy Lops?
Well, I kind of like wool.
No.
And I've always been attracted to Holland Lops and Fuzzy Lops or anything with lopped ears too. And I never had one until I got one Fuzzy Lop probably 3 years ago that I picked out when she was this big, and she was supposed to be a Holland Lop. And then she ended up being fuzzy because everything I picked.
And you were
is
not
fuzzy.
disappointed, I'm sure, when
Oh.
she We've done some other body types as well.
Yeah.
Do you have aspirations for a registrar or a judge license?
Hopefully, I qualify for my registrars since I've been 3 years at ARBA this month.
So you've already won Best in Show Convention, and you're not even qualified yet to take your registrar's license.
Yeah,
Pretty great. Keep saying that. what other projects are you involved in, back in your breed? Have you collaborated with anyone, or if you working on a new variety? What's going on with Lionheads in your barn, other than, of course, improving the breed and making it, more well known, because you've done a great thing for the breed. You've given them a lot of validity, and said, hey guys, we can do this.
Had it before because they have like a joint COD.
Okay.
So it's Nita, Hanford Shannon, and Colin Hoover, and Joe Harchick.
And so are these people local to you?
Yeah. Well, Colin and Joe are. Nita's in Washington.
All right. So you guys are collaborating on a new variety. And how do you find that? How is it to work on a brand new variety for acceptance into ARBA? What is it like?
So I don't actually breed them in my own barn because I'm not on the COD.
Sure. Well, I'm sure you have some. Right,
yeah.
right.
Not as many as some, but
Right.
yeah, I have some. And but like I can lend my opinion, which also really is amazing to me because they were the ones teaching me about Lionheads, and now they also ask for my opinion.
So your mentors, your
Yeah.
local mentors that got you hooked on Lionheads, Colin and Joe, right? Now they're coming to you for advice.
Yeah.
As they should. I mean, no disrespect to them, but they have not won Best in Show convention yet with Lionhead. Tell us about your mentors, those.
Go to like at West Coast Classic, the first one I went to. I was like, Mom, that's Teresa Mueller. I'd be like, Mom,
Can I get her autograph? Yeah.
And then I'd just see people and I'd be like, oh my God, I've seen that person, or I've heard of that person. And
So you're starstruck.
yeah, and even to just talk to them and get rabbits from them was amazing to me. And now.
So you were really taken in under some pretty big wings.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And I got my my lines are all from them, and I just I got so lucky, and I guess that's really. And everything, and have a local Lionhead mentor is always good too, because if you have any questions or they can show you, like I like showing people who buy from me how to brush Lionheads, and from my opinion, obviously.
Because they're not just a breed that you can just keep in a cage, right? There's maintenance that goes along, right?
Yeah, and it's not high maintenance, but you definitely have
But there are techniques.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
And you have to, because we have a lot of DQs, so you have to keep up with that, and you have to know what you're doing.
So if you're getting into Lionheads or you're thinking about it, get a mentor.
Yeah,
Someone
mentor.
that's established. What else? What else did you recommend?
Well, getting good lines to start with, and not going too fast, because you really have to get a good base first.
You just won Best in Show convention after less than 3 years. So.
Yeah.
What's too fast?
I guess just not get like a lot of Lionheads to start with.
Okay, so quantity has something to do with it.
Yeah.
So don't be like
No.
0 to
Yeah.
a big number.
And I've seen people who, after buying like one Lionhead from me, go all over the place and get from different people too. But like Lionheads, their lines are really specific, and a lot of lines won't cross well at all.
So there's some self-control that has to kind of go to that. How did you deal with that? Because I'm sure you were like, I need that,
Oh, yeah.
that. Or were you not like, no, I need to tone back a bit? How did you control
had to, I guess it is like experience and, finding out. And even just like at convention, this last year when I won, I got a buck from the East Coast, and it ended up not going well with my stuff at all. And so it's not like I'm not making the
Nobody's
mistake
a
still.
sure win.
Yeah.
Or a sure match. So join the national club, the North American Lionhead Club, right?
That's
That's first. Get a great guidebook, get some mentors, and then don't go crazy on the amount of
Don't go
rabbits
crazy,
that you buy to start your program.
It's really
And to
tempting,
buy,
especially with Lionheads, but
quality.
yeah, quality.
do your homework, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know about homework. We'll talk about that. So, any other projects you're working on in your bar now? Any collaborations or work that you're other breeds? I mean, you're doing, of course, your fuzzies, but
My fuzzies.
I mean, that's not enough.
Yeah.
But
I mean, adult fuzzies I have under 10 though, so it's not like a big project.
again,
I mean,
controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you done well with your fuzzies?
Yeah, I got from a really good breeder to start with. Most of my lions are from Tabitha, Bristol Maker, who won Best Knobs at convention last year. And she has amazing fuzzy lops. And I also have some curled green who also has amazing fuzzy lops. Yeah. So those are, they're two of the top fuzzy lop breeders. And so again, like from what I learned in my lion heads, I got top lines.
Very cool. All right, so the big topic in my is the best in show you mentioned, but you're not just the average high school student. Kids that have to be accepted into that class,
Yeah.
correct? So they're not.
They're not,
that's
yeah,
gotta
they're
be
smart
shocking.
kids, yeah.
Okay.
And so
How
that's
did you do in your
obviously-
first test?
I got like a B.
I
But-
kind of
Yeah.
better than a D. Yeah.
Not a D,
Not
but
a D.
still not what I wanted. And then I'm also taking like advanced chemistry.
Not-
Too.
Not an easy class.
No, advanced chemistry I think is harder than AP World History to me. Because I love biology, that's what I want to major in college. And it's very different than chemistry, and chemistry is a lot of just
Three days, we Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and
yeah.
I thought, oh, we're gonna go bowling, and we'll see you Saturday night, and then Clara and Mom are packing up and headed out, and
Yeah.
because what was going on Sunday that you didn't want to stay for?
Well, there was another show, but I had a test on Monday. I had to go home and study for it. And then, like I was mentioning to you earlier, I can't go to nationals this year because I have finals the week after.
Gosh.
I have to study that for that.
So you really do balance the two, between
try,
school
yeah.
and obviously with your, anyone that knows rabbits knows that you balance the rabbit side successfully, but you're also getting stereo A's and taking big classes and have big aspirations for your future. How your parents planned all this, We talked
And it's so helpful to have them, and I really couldn't be doing this if I didn't have them to help me. Yeah.
She's, your parents are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell her we were going to do this, but come on over here. Everybody wants to hear from Mom, too. So, why don't you, that's great. So, this is Sarah.
Hi.
Yes, no. And how do you feel about what your daughter's done last year with the rabbits?
I still can't believe it, as you well know.
Oh yeah, I know, we text, our famous text is,
Yes.
did you hear Lionhead won Best in Show?
No, I can't even believe it.
What was your thought when I remember meeting both of you guys and your dad at the West Coast Classic Show a few years ago, but when your daughter said, I want to raise these rabbits, I've got this pet Lionhead and I want to do this full time, what was going through your mind?
No.
No.
My first that appear here and there, and she didn't say this, but for convention last year, she raised 140 babies.
Wow.
Out of 140, she's kept 5.
My gosh.
That's how many.
That's that self-control we talked about a second ago,
That
right?
is.
That's
But
remarkable.
that was in the search for trying. It's when you see somebody that's that committed and that passionate about it,
Because, I mean, let's face it, I was talking to an ag teacher a few weeks ago in Southern California, and he was talking about FFA and why rabbits make sense for FFA, because we're more of a suburban culture, and I mean, you have a beautiful home, we love coming here, but you don't live exactly in the country, right?
No.
So,
That's a challenge too.
if you were gonna, I mean, I'm sure you love other animals too, but rabbits, they make
When we moved here, I thought we were gonna have like more land and more space. And
because
all of this.
horses have something to do with your family. You're from Spain,
Mhm.
and you had horses growing up,
Yes, I
right?
did.
So animals are, that's not a new thing for you.
No. We've
Did
we've
you-
raised animals
and
my
shown
dad and
horses?
Shown horses.
So
shown dogs.
the whole show animal idea wasn't foreign to you,
No, it wasn't. But I did know that there was a lot of work involved
of course.
so that's something that when a young person, you have to really decide that
Were you
and
doing?
you can't force it on them either.
No, it needs to be up to them, right?
Yeah.
So, but when you were in Spain, when you were doing horses and showing, were you young like Clara, or were you a little older?
No, I was young like Clara, and then it went through college for me.
So
Yeah,
when
like
she
him.
says, "I want to raise rabbits or animals," and
Mhm.
you make sense of it all and decide this is a good thing, were you eventually like, how were you feeling at that point? Like, okay, we're gonna do this, or were you like, this is not? Or still
So as
apprehensive?
she said, we started, even though it seemed at that time it seemed like a good idea, but we started with a few like this, and it wasn't like suddenly you have 40 it kind of made sense. Like she found a way to just like, you know, a cycle of how to make it work.
Right.
But
So
now
it
it has
never
to be
seemed-
cycled with my tennis tournaments all weekends and the dog shows too. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But Clara still does a significant portion of all of the work, right?
She until lately she's done everything in the barn. We very seldom would go in there.
That's her.
That's her.
That's
She'd
her
come and
style.
she'd be like, look how cute, look how cute. I was like, oh, yeah. But, you know, seldom did anything. Now, this year, with her AP classes and stuff, the day she has an exam, or the days, you know, we do come out and, you know, say, we'll help you feed. So it's instead of 3/4 of an hour between feeding and, you know, looking at babies and brushing
Checking out
this.
the
And
entry.
She does a little more than I'll help you feed, but
But who's making the decisions on who to breed to whom
Oh.
and
yeah.
I'm not allowed to do those.
not allowed to do
Not
that.
allowed
Well,
to do that.
you're not allowed to.
But it's your project
Yeah.
of the day. It started with you, and
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that you share the hobby with your mom, and your mom is very much a part of the show community here in California. And naturally now too, because you've taken on some roles too, all right? You helping. Place to have your daughter and your kids, and how is it to
Well,
be a
that
part
was
of that?
one of the parts where that was, you know, when she started showing and breeding, and we saw how the environment at the shows was, and that's one of the parts that made us think, well, it should be good
Because
to do this.
Clara gave a lot of credit to her mentors.
Yes.
How do you feel about the older people versus the young people in this hobby? Are they like, you're a kid, you don't know what you're doing, or is there a certain
We've been
connection?
very lucky. I don't know if that's
It's
like
not.
that.
No, I wasn't trying to.
So
push
I
you,
don't know.
But how do you find kids getting in, and then adults that are well established? How are they accepting kids?
We've had all the acceptance. I mean, from Misty to Joe to Teresa to you to all of the judges, really, Alan, Loretta, also Holland Love Reader. I mean, the list is ongoing. California in general is what I know from shows, and it's just a very welcoming place where everybody really you show once, twice a month, and see your friends there. But apart from that, you have your rabbits are there every day.
Yeah, if you know one thing about my mom, it's that she likes to socialize too.
Oh yes.
Yes,
Mom
like
likes
to
to talk.
socialize.
That's good. I like to talk to your mom. So obviously, your family had a big impact on your ability to balance this school and life thing. What would you say to kids that maybe were struggling with balancing school and life, whether they had a really intense school schedule or not, but they want to show rabbits and they want to breed some successful rabbits and go to shows, but also they obviously need to spend time in school. That's their priority. So any advice to those kids that are finding a difficult time, finding the balance?
Well, obviously, it definitely can be done, but you're not going to do it alone. And
You're not going to do it alone?
No, you need help. And if it's your mom, or if it's your dad, or if it's your siblings, help is always great, and you should always take it when you need it. Yeah, co-breeding is good too.
Co-breeding, how do you describe co-breeding? What does that mean?
Well, I know people have different ways of doing it, but to me, co-breeding is like, you know, you have your own rabbits and they have their own rabbits, but then you also swap sometimes. And if you want to use my buck, yeah, that's fine. Or can I use this buck? Or you know,
there's got to be a certain kind of magic to that too. It's got to make you feel like, oh, that's.
Oh yeah.
You feel like you're part of a group and a group of friends, right?
And then at the shows, it's fun too because you can enter the rabbits under both your names, and then you get excited when they're one, and you're like, we did this together. Yeah.
Occasion, but you had a local youth
Yeah.
that was already raising them. Abby's had them for quite some time, right?
Yep.
They only had like
And then Joe.
5 when I got into them, or maybe a few more. But as I started getting into them, they got into them, you know, more too. And
So
then
you
we
must have been really
started-
excited to find someone that was young that was also
Yeah.
interested in the breed.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Joe, who's from the Oakland area, but he's
Mhm.
living over here now.
Yes, Joe, they have land and a place they live to
And who's
nearby.
Tell us
as well.
who Joe Horchak, what did he do in Lionheads?
Oh, wow.
He's a wonderful
Yeah.
man, of course, and very brilliant with the breed.
Yeah.
Um,
He did, you know, he's done really well with his Lionheads too, and he passed the seal.
so
So
he got this seal variety of
He
Lionheads.
was part of the Siamese Sable COD
Yeah.
and part of the
So he's a
Sable
hard worker behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And he's also in your area, basically.
Mhm.
Yes.
He's
Okay.
really behind the scenes though. He doesn't like to be, you know.
Not a spotlight kind of guy.
Yeah. But I mean,
But to have him here, and Misty,
Oh,
and then
that was-
Corinne, she also lives right here in
Corinne,
the
yeah,
foothills,
that
right?
made all the difference I think, because I got to get, you know, and then like amazing judges like you at the shows and.
It's our pleasure, but I mean, to have those local breeders here, that's gotta
Honestly.
be part of the equation, right?
Yeah, and then if I ever need like a second look at my Lionheads, or and it was nice too because Misty also is my 4-H tutor, or she was, so if I ever need like a second look at my litter, I'd bring it to our 4-H meeting and she'd look at them for me and she'd be like, so this is what I think.
Mhm.
Well, then I think we've been very lucky too. We have a club, the CRCS, that puts on shows.
I've seen you guys
Like
tear down the
crazy.
at the end of the day for that CRCS show.
Even though I do it wrong most of the time.
But they put
That's right.
because but we're lucky in this area because we have a lot of shows to attend to. Monthly, there's at least 2-3 shows for sure, and that we are able to go to if we, if you can, and where you learn. I think that's part of why our curve, her learning curve was so tight, and that's thanks to people like,
It's in maybe a remote area that's not like you, that has shows every weekend, that has a great support system of local breeders. What would you say to them? How could they become connected to learning more and being successful?
Well, that's
I mean, maybe it's not a question for you because you've never had to experience that, but
yeah. It definitely has to be tough, especially because I get a lot of my feedback too when I go to shows. If I ever have a question, I'll bring, because we have like my mom said, 1 or 2 shows a month. So if I ever have a question that I really don't know, because lately I've been more like sure of myself with my decisions. But I'll bring 2 or 3 babies to the show and I'll be like, Alan, what do you think? And last time I brought you like 8 or 9, and you have to look through all of them.
But you think asking questions is important, right?
Yeah.
Talk about who's behind you, because Lionhead's been patiently waiting.
Yeah.
Who do you have?
So this is Fame. She's a young senior doe.
Okay, so what's a young senior doe? How old is a young senior doe?
I think she's
Why don't you want to pose her up and show us?
Oh, I don't know how well she'll pose.
Oh,
But,
Show us first how do you pose a lionhead?
so they have a high head mount.
Okay.
Yeah, she's kind of being a pancake.
So how she's a young senior, so she's like what,
Yeah.
6, 7 months?
Yeah, 7 to 8 actually.
Right.
So she's a full sister to Tequila Sunrise.
So this is something you're excited about.
Kind of. She didn't turn out how I expected her to.
So at one time you were excited. On paper, she looks like.
Yes, on paper she looks really good.
Okay.
And I still like her. She just didn't turn out like Tequila Sunrise.
Recommended kids. Have you ever done showmanship with Lionhead?
Mm-hmm. That's how I got started with my first rabbit.
So in Ohio, your black Lionhead you were doing showmanship with.
Yeah, I wasn't really into that in Ohio yet, but the one time I went to the show, I was flipping her over and stuff. Even then I didn't know how to do it. She would still go back for me and lay on her back. And I think that was a big reason I got into Lionheads was because they weren't like crazy. Like with
I mean, look at how long she sat up there during her interview. She never.
Yeah.
You didn't have to turn around once. She's just very relaxed. And she's someone. Have you shown this one before?
Yeah, I've shown her before. I haven't been showing her very long because we've been to like 2 or 3 shows in the last month.
Kind of quiet, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about her body, and
Yeah.
or should we talk about posing? How do you describe a Lionhead body? What is it? What is it?
They're compact,
Okay.
and so you want it short, wide, full, round,
With a high headset.
yeah, a headset.
So you have some.
And I think the key to that really is getting line heads with faults in different places and trying to put that together and fix it. So I'll have, I have a lot of ones that, I'm like a really stickler for ears too, and so like long ears like kill me, but I have a lot of ones with long ears because they'll have a good hind quarter or something, and I really think ears aren't that hard to fix. So if you have a problem, that's not that hard to fix, if I have a good
Interesting,
hind quarter.
and you've gained that observation over years you've had raised the breed, so
Yeah.
you think the ears are pretty easy to fix.
Yeah, they're only 5 points, and I know they're only 5 points, but like still, like the look of the ears can like make or break your rabbit. Like if they're too just how it's supposed to feel and how it's supposed to look, and really how it's supposed to feel, I think, because like its texture and its density.
Why does texture affect the mane so much?
Because if you have a soft mane, it'll mat really easy, first of all, so it's more care and more upkeep,
Okay.
which you'll need to spend more time.
So juniors typically in all breeds of rabbits have a finer
Yeah.
coat when they're younger. So do you find that juniors don't show the mane off as well because the texture hasn't developed yet?
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Yeah.
So do senior lionheads win more? Or do they show, maybe not win more, but at
Yeah.
least show better? Okay, and that's a DQ or a fall? DQ. So no. So no wool over the back or over the saddle. And then where's the big one?
The break.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah. So I use the way Teresa Mueller taught me. I go up the shoulder, up the leg, and I trace a line. So it should be right here.
So there should be, what should it look like when you're tracing that line?
So the normal hair should just go straight up. And on a lot of rabbits, it's, you know, maybe it's kind of there. And a lot of judges are pretty lenient with it now, especially because we've had so many DQ'd. So it's not like, you'll hear a lot of judges talk about like a stream or a river. You know, you want to see it running through there. And so with the juniors, a lot of judges and I left Pina Colada at home for convention actually because I was like, you're too precious to me. I was like, Tequila Sunrise can go, but this one can stay home.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the mane. So you got texture.
Yeah,
you need
texture.
the break and the transition wool on the sides. There can't be any transition wool over the back.
Mm-hmm.
How do you describe the face of a lionhead?
Well, they should have a pretty like clean face.
What does clean mean?
By clean I mean like the same fur they have on the back should be on
Which
the.
is what kind of fur over the back?
It's rollback.
So they have a rollback fur over the back, and that should also be evident on the face.
Yeah, it's kind of similar, but like you can see on Fame, her fur on the face it's like a different. It's like a shorter, like wool almost.
But the standard describes the break or the transition.
Yeah.
So we'll let the club decide what's going to happen
Yeah.
with that in the standard that's upcoming. But ultimately, the face, at least in this area, should be clean
Clean,
of
yeah.
wool, right?
Clean.
And what about the ears? Is wool allowed on the ears?
It's allowed. It's not as like I don't know. I like a clean ear, and I think it really makes it like a definitions. You know, it makes it stand out, defines it. If the ears are clean,
Okay.
it just looks better.
And then obviously they have uniformity of mane that makes them stand out.
Like-
What's the minimum
dad or her grandpa is Aspen Leaf Sputnik, and he's really been like one of my main bucks, and his mane has really stood out to me, and they
So it's really he's helped you stamp that quality on your rabbits. And what about density? Do you talk about density when you're judging or evaluating your Lionheads? Yeah, why? What's important about density?
Density, like on a Lionhead, you want a lot of density because it'll help them also keep their mane. So if you're newer, like a rabbit with more density will keep more mane.
Do you find that you can tell density in young Lionheads?
You can tell, but it might be like I have a lot of Lionheads right now that they're dense but they're soft, and that kind of annoys me. But I know that as your Lionhead matures, you'll get more texture, and so yeah, you can tell density, and they'll feel nice and thick. But if it's like a 2-month-old, not always.
Obviously, I'm tired. Royal Oaks Rabbitry.
Yeah, Royal
on
Oaks.
Facebook. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Claire, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck tomorrow at the show. And I can't say good luck at Lionhead Nationals because you're not going, but I'm sure you're going to be at the West Coast Classic.
Yes, I will be.
Yeah, you better be there. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks everyone
Thank
for joining tonight at the Rabbit Show. I'm Alan again.